practitioner. So today we'll begin the chapter 14 from Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu by Srila Rupa Goswami, translated by Skondaracharya, Divine Graces Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, devotional qualification. Some scholars recommend that knowledge and renunciation are important factors for elevating oneself to devotional service. But actually, that is not a fact. Actually, the cultivation of knowledge or renunciation, which are favorable for achieving a footing in Krishna consciousness, may be accepted in the beginning, but ultimately they may also come to be rejected. For devotional service is dependent on nothing other than the sentiment or desire for such service. It requires nothing more than sincerity. Each and every line is so powerful. It is the opinion of expert devotees that mental speculation and the artificial austerities of yoga practice may be favorable for becoming liberated from material contamination, but they will also make one's heart harder and harder. They will not help at all in the progress of devotional service. These processes are therefore not favorable for entering into the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Actually, Krishna consciousness, devotional service itself, is the only way of advancing in devotional life. Devotional service is absolute. It is both the cause and the effect. Supreme Personality of Godhead is the cause and effect of all that be, and to approach Him, the absolute process of devotional service, which is also absolute, has to be adopted. Someone who did not read yesterday, you would like to read today, you can continue reading.
This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita by the Lord himself. One can understand me only through devotional service. In beginning his teaching of the Gita, the Lord said to Arjuna, "Because you are my devotee, I shall teach these secrets to you." Vedic knowledge means ultimately to understand the Supreme Lord in the process of entering into his kingdom is devotional service. That is accepted by all authentic scriptures. Mental speculators neglect the process of devotional service, and by simply trying to defeat others in philosophical research, they fail to develop the ecstasy of devotion. In the 11th canto, 20th chapter, verse 31 of Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna says, "My dear Uddhava, for persons who are seriously engaged in my devotional in my service, the cultivation of philosophical speculation and artificial renunciation are not very favorable. When a person becomes my devotee, he automatically attains the fruits of the renunciation of material enjoyment, and he gets sufficient knowledge to understand the absolute truth. That is the test of advancement in devotional service. A devotee cannot be in darkness because the Lord shows him special favor and enlightens him from within. In the 11th canto, 20th chapter, verse 32 and 33 of Srimad Bhagavatam of the Lord further instructs Uddhava. My dear friend, the prophets derived from fruitative activities, austerities, the culture of philosophical knowledge, renunciation, the practice of mystic yoga, charity, and all similar auspicious activities are automatically achieved by my devotees, those who are simply attached to me by loving service. These devotees have everything at their disposal, but they desire nothing outside of my devotional service. If ever a devotee should desire some material profit, like promotion to the heavenly planets or some spiritual benefit, to go to the Vaikunthas, by my causeless mercy, his desires are very easily fulfilled. Actually, a person who is developing Krishna consciousness and still has some attachment to material enjoyment will soon be freed from such a tendency by regularly discharging devotional service under the instruction of a bona fide spiritual master. Srila Rupa Goswami then recommends that one should not be attached to material sense enjoyment but should accept everything enjoyable which is in relationship to Krishna. For example, eating is necessary, and if one wants some palatable dishes to satisfy his sense of taste, So in that case, for the satisfaction of Krishna, rather than for the satisfaction of the tongue, some palatable dishes may be prepared and offered to Krishna. Then it is renunciation. Let the palatable dishes be prepared, but unless they are offered to Krishna, one should not accept them for eating. This vow of rejecting anything which is not offered to Krishna is actually renunciation, and by such renunciation, one is able to satisfy the demand of the senses.
Okay. Someone else would like to continue?
Yes, Pooja. The
Thanks,
individuals who
Pooja.
try to avoid everything material may undergo severe austerities, but they miss the opportunity of being engaged in the service of the Lord. Thus, their renunciation is not sufficient for perfection. There are many instances where, following such artificial renunciation without any contact with devotional service, the impersonalist again fell down and became attracted to material contamination. There are many supposed renouncers, even at the present moment, who officially become sannyasis or renouncers and outwardly claim that spiritual existence is truth and material existence untruth. In this way, artificially, they make a show of renunciation of the material world. However, because they cannot reach the point of devotional service, they fail to achieve the goal and they again come back to material activities such as philanthropic work and political agitation. There are many examples of so called sannyasis who gave up the world as untruth but again came to the material world because they were not seeking their real repose at the lotus feet of the Lord. One should not give up anything which can be utilized in the service of the Lord. That is a secret of devotional service. Anything that can be utilized in advancing Krishna consciousness and devotional service should be accepted. For instance, we are using many machines for the advancement of our present Krishna consciousness movement. Machines like typewriters, dictating machines, tape recorders, microphones, and airplanes. Sometimes people ask us, why are you utilizing material products if you condemn the advancement of material civilization? But actually, we do not condemn. We simply ask people to do whatever they are doing in Krishna consciousness. This is a simple principle. This is the same principle on which in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna advised Arjuna to utilize his fighting abilities in devotional service. Similarly, we are utilizing these machines for Krishna's service. With such sentiment for Krishna or Krishna consciousness, we can accept everything. If the typewriter can be utilized for advancing our Krishna consciousness movement, we must accept it. Similarly, the dictating machine or any other machine must be used. Our vision is that Krishna is everything. Krishna is the cause and effect, and nothing belongs to us. Krishna's things must be used in the service of Krishna. That is our vision. This does not mean, however, that we should give up the principles of discharging devotional service or neglect abiding by the rules and regulations prescribed therein. In the neophyte stage of devotion, one must follow all the principles regulated by the authority of the spiritual master. The acceptance and rejection of things should always be in pursuance of the devotional principles, not that one can independently manufacture some idea of what should be accepted or rejected. The spiritual master, as the visible manifestation of Krishna, is necessary, therefore, to direct the devotee on behalf of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The spiritual master must never be carried away by the accumulation of wealth or a large number of followers. A bona fide spiritual master will never become like that. But sometimes, if a spiritual master is not properly authorized and only on his own initiative becomes a spiritual master, he may be carried away by an accumulation of wealth and large numbers of disciples. His is not a very high grade of devotional service. If a person is carried away by such achievements, then his devotional service becomes slackened. One should therefore strictly adhere to the principles of disciplic succession. A conscious person, being naturally purified, has no need of developing any other purificatory process or thought or action. On account of his being highly elevated in Krishna consciousness, he has already acquired all the good qualities and is following the rules and regulations prescribed for the mystic yogic process. Such rules are automatically practiced by the devotees. A concrete example is the quality of non-violence, which is considered a good qualification. A devotee is naturally non-violent and therefore doesn't have to practice non-violence separately. Some people seek purification by joining a vegetarian movement, but a devotee is automatically a vegetarian. He doesn't need to practice separately in this matter or join any society for vegetarians. He is automatically a vegetarian. There are many other instances showing that a devotee needn't practice anything but Krishna conscious or Krishna consciousness, all the good qualities of the demigods automatically develop within him. Those who are intentionally practicing to be vegetarians or to become non-violent may have good qualifications by a material estimation, but these qualifications are not sufficient to make them devotees. A vegetarian is not necessarily a devotee, nor is a non-violent person. But a devotee is automatically both vegetarian and non-violent. We must conclude, therefore, that vegetarianism or non-violence is not the cause of devotion.
Okay.
In this connection, thank
Someone
you.
else can
In this connection,
In this connection,
about a hunter who was converted into a great devotee under the instruction of Narad Muni. When the hunter became a perfect devotee, he was not prepared to kill even an ant. But Parvata Muni, a friend of Narad, saw the wonderful transformation of the hunter by devotional service and remarked, "My dear hunter, your unwillingness to kill even an ant is not very astonishing. Any person who develops the devotional attitude has all the good qualities automatically manifested in his person. A devotee is never a cause of distress to anyone." Sri Rupa Goswami affirms herein that purification of consciousness, purification of bodily activities, austerities, peace of mind, etc., all become automatically manifest in the person who is engaged in devotional service. Sri Rupa Goswami affirms herein that there are 9 different kinds of devotional service, which are listed as hearing, chanting, remembering, serving, worshipping the deity in the temple, praying, carrying out orders, serving Krishna as a friend, and sacrificing everything for him. Each and every one of these processes is so powerful that if anyone follows even one single one of them, he can achieve the desired perfection without fail. For example, if one is attached simply to hearing about the Lord, and another is attached to chanting the glories of both will achieve their desired goal in the devotional service. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, this has been explained. One may execute 1, 2, 3, or all the different processes of devotional service, and at the ultimate end, he will achieve the desired goal of being established in devotional service. There are concrete examples of how a devotee discharged one of these services and achieved perfection. King Parikshit achieved the desired goal of life simply by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Shri Shukdev Goswami achieved the desired goal of life simply by reciting Srimad Bhagavatam. Prahlad Maharaj became successful in his devotional service by always remembering the Lord. Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, was successful by engaging herself in massaging the lotus feet of the Lord. King Prathu became successful by worshipping in the temple. Akrur became successful by offering prayers. Hanuman became successful by rendering personal service to Lord Ramchandra. Arjun became successful by being a friend of Krishna. And Bali Maharaj became successful simply by offering all of his possession to Krishna. There are also examples of devotees who discharge all the different items together. In the 9th canto, 4th chapter, verse 18, 19, and 20 of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a statement about Maharaj Amrish, who followed every one of the devotional processes. In these verses, Sridhar Goswami says, King Amrish, first of all, concentrated his mind on the lotus feet of the Lord Krishna, and then engaged his speech in describing the pastimes of and activities of the Lord. He engaged his hands in washing the temples of the Lord. He engaged his ears in hearing the transcendental glories of the Lord. He engaged his eyes in seeing the beautiful deity in the temple. He engaged his body in associating with the pure devotees of the Lord. When you associate with someone, you have to sit down together, eat together, etc. And in this way, the touch of your body with his body is inevitable. Amrish Maharaj made his association only with pure devotees and did not allow his body to be touched by anyone else. He engaged his nostrils in smelling the flowers and tulsi offered to Krishna, and he engaged his tongue in tasting Krishna Prasad, food prepared specifically for offering to the Lord, and remnants of which are taken by the devotees. Maharaj Amrish was able to offer very nice prasad to Krishna because he was a king and had no scarcity of finances. He used to offer Krishna the most royal dishes and would then taste the remnants as Krishna Prasad. There was no scarcity of his royal style because he had a very beautiful temple wherein the deity of the Lord was decorated with costly paraphernalia and offered high-grade food. So everything was available, and his engagement was always completely in Krishna consciousness. The idea is that we should follow in the footsteps of great devotees. If we are unable to execute all the different forms of devotional service, we must try to execute at least one of them as exemplified by previous acharyas. If we are engaged in the execution of all the items of devotional service as Maharaj Amrish, then the perfection of the devotional service is guaranteed from each one of these items. With the first complete engagement, one becomes automatically detached from material contamination, and liberation becomes the maid servant of the devotee. This idea is confirmed by Bilva Mangal Thakur. If one develops unalloyed devotion to the Lord, liberation will follow the devotees as his maid servant. Srila Rupa Goswami says that the regulatory principles of devotional service are sometimes described by authorities as the path of serving the Lord in opulence. Hare Krishna.
Okay. So this is one of the most important chapters in entire Nectar of Devotion. The title of this chapter is Devotional Qualifications. And as we were discussing yesterday, that at the end of chapter 13, Srila Rupa Goswami had begun to analyze the relationship between various spiritual practices and pure devotional service. And we saw how we discussed about Varnashrama and Sadhana Bhakti yesterday. And in today's chapter, chapter 14, the discussion began with Jnana and Vairagya. Just a book with me. So I was actually following from the book, and there are some passages which I would like to read again. So now, to understand this, you have to understand about Gyan and Vairagya. Are Gyan and Vairagya required in devotional life or no? What do you think? Spiritual knowledge and renunciation. What are their roles in devotional service? If you want to speak, you can unmute yourself and share with the rest of the group your
They are just
understanding.
the byproduct of devotional service.
Okay, they are byproduct of devotional service.
Yes.
So I should not cultivate them separately.
One can do, but they are not essential. Essentially, the intense desire is essential.
Okay,
In the beginning, one should cultivate till we achieve the intense desire.
okay. Anyone else would like to share?
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, like knowledge is required because different Uttam Adhikari Kanish, there were different knowledge is required uh, uh, for the
Yeah. And then what about Vairagya?
um, uh, and faith and knowledge. I think they are required.
Yeah. Okay, good point.
The knowledge and renunciation does not require for bhakti, as we see from various examples. Like
What is that example?
Dhruv Maharaj, he was a child and he don't know anything about, उनको कोई knowledge नहीं थी, but still he achieved the perfection.
But Narad Muni gave him knowledge and he practiced renunciation. No? He,
वो तो
he
बाद
stopped
के अंदर
eating.
हुआ था ना प्रभु.
Hanji.
That was later on na, later when he started from the mahal, so he didn't have anything about that ना, कि कोई knowledge भी नहीं थी, and he just wanted to gain Lord. जब उन्होंने इच्छा की थी, when he desired, then only he got the knowledge and renunciation, no? But initially तो नहीं था कुछ भी.
Okay. Interesting.
Hare Krishna, in the first para also it is mentioned that only sincerity is required for doing the devotional service, and slowly and gradually as you start doing the devotional services, so the Gyan and Vairagya automatically come, and Vairagya is the maid servant of the devotional service.
Okay. Now, to answer this question, we have to understand there are two things that are being talked here. One is the process of Gyan and Vairagya, and the other are the qualities of Gyan and Vairagya. So, the process of Gyan and Vairagya are a separate process of spiritual realization where the practitioner engages himself in practicing renunciation and practicing and cultivation of Jnana. Now, we need to understand when they are used as a process, then the focus is not on Krishna. The focus is on renunciation. I want to renounce. I want to renounce. But the focus is not Krishna. And similarly, in the cultivation of knowledge, there are so many different branches of knowledge, and not necessarily the goal is Krishna, right? So, when they are used as a process, they are not required. And that is why Srila Rupa Goswami do not mention these two processes as part of 64 limbs of devotional service. Right? What is required in devotional service? Fixing the mind on Krishna. So that is the most essential part of sadhana. And because Gyan and Vairagya fail to do so, they are not the items of sadhana bhakti. You have to understand that. Not only that, they are not required for the items of sadhana bhakti. On the other hand, they may be detrimental to devotional service. Why? Because the dry renunciation, vairagya, makes the heart hard. If the goal is not Krishna and one is more after a vairagya, this way. But they will also make one's heart harder and harder. They will not help at all in the progress of devotional service. These processes, understand the terminology that are used. These processes are therefore not favorable. Because devotional service is dependent on nothing more than the sentiment or desire for such service. So, because anyone who is materially attached, he would also have emotions, and a spiritual person also have emotions. The emotions of a materially attached person drives him or her towards sense gratification, whereas the emotions of a bhakta, of a devotee, inspires him to go towards Krishna. They are all in relationship with Krishna. So vairagya, it makes heart callous, and it makes the heart indifferent to the spiritual emotions that are necessary in devotional service. Because bhakti, what does ultimately bhakti means? It means to please the Lord by our love for Him. And to express such love, it requires a soft heart, not the hard heart. Only a soft heart can be moved by hearing the names of Krishna, by hearing the pastimes of Krishna, his qualities and activities. And therefore, Gyan and Vairagya as a process, they are not favorable to devotional service because they result in a hard, stoic heart. And is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, that Srila Rupa Goswami quotes here. So when we talk about jnana, it specifically means to the cultivation of philosophical speculation, and renunciation is only about renunciation. And when a person becomes my devotee, he automatically attains the fruit of renunciation of material enjoyment, and he gets sufficient knowledge to understand the absolute truth. Can you quote any verse, any other verse to support this? Can you quote two verses to support this?
11th canto 20th chapter 32 and 33 verse.
That
The
Mataji, I'm highlighting only that. I wouldn't ask that. So it's coming in our screen.
तस्मात् ज्ञानसम्भूतं हृत्सं ज्ञानास्ति आत्मनः चित्तेन संशयं योगम् आतिशोतिश्च भारत.
Okay. Not
तेषां
exactly.
सततयुक्तानां भजतां प्रीतिपूर्वकं ददामि बुद्धियोगं तं येन माम् उपयान्ति ते.
Okay, that's a one verse. And what's the other verse? This is the same, the fourth verse of Chatushloki Bhagavad Gita.
तेषामेव अनुकम्पार्थ
कम्पार्थ
समाजं तमः ददामि
एव अनुकंपातम अहम अज्ञान तो ज्ञान दीपेन भास्वता.
Yes. So these two are the verses. The verse that was quoted first, Chitvayana Sanchayam. So in that, Krishna is instructing Arjuna, remove your doubts from the sword of knowledge, transcendental knowledge. But in these two verses, Tesham Satatam Yuktanam and Tesham Eva Anukampartha, it proves that devotee is not without knowledge. Anyone who is engaged in devotional service is also awarded transcendental knowledge. Right? Now, the qualities of Gyan and Vairagya, they are actually necessary for devotional advancement. Why? Because ultimately, without knowledge and detachment, the person will be attached to material body, and he would tend to act for the body and not for Krishna's pleasure. Right? Sometimes it is said the process of Jnana and Vairagya, I'm just put attention to the terms that I'm using. They may preliminary help a new person focus on Krishna because they ultimately frees the person from sense objects. Sense objects are distractions. Attachment to sense gratification is distraction in rendering service to Krishna. Bhogeshware prasaktanam tayaprit chetasam. So bhog, aishwarya, prasaktanam. So they are distraction. And because they are distraction, in the beginning stages, the process of Jnana and Vairagya may prove helpful because it frees from those distraction and there are more chances of person to focus mind on Krishna. But they themselves do not help the practitioner focus mind on Krishna. But on the other hand, the qualities of Jnana and the qualities of Vairagya, they are essential for devotional service. Now, there is a big confusion that detachment on one hand can harden the heart and make the heart useless for devotional service. And on the other hand, detachment is necessary for becoming free from sense gratification, which is from becoming free from material desires. And that is also required for rendering pure devotional service. So, is there any way we can acquire detachment without hardening our heart? Is there any process like that? So, Srila Rupa Goswami, sorry?
अनासक्तस्य विषयः यथा अरम् उपयन्त निर्बन्ध कृष्ण सम्बन्धे युक्तं वैराग्यम् उच्यते.
Yes, correct. Right on the spot. So, what is the answer? The answer is that Srila Rupa Goswami quotes from Srimad Bhagavatam to show that Jnana and Bhakti automatically comes from Jnana and Vairagya ultimately come from Bhakti, and then he gives the principle of Yukta Vairagya, as Rajshekhar Prabhu just quoted. Anasaktasya Vishayan Yathartam Upayunjita Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yuktam Vairagya Uchyate. And so, what do we mean by Yukta Vairagya? Yukta Vairagya means to accept only those things that can be utilized in the service of Krishna and to reject everything else. Right? Accepting only those things which can be utilized for Krishna's service and not for one's own sense gratification. If one accepts something without attachment and accepts it because it is related to Krishna, one's renunciation is called Yukta Vairagya. So Vairagya is of two types. One is Yukta Vairagya, which is healthy for devotional life. And then Srila Rupa Goswami talks about Falgu Vairagya. What is Falgu Vairagya? Talks about impersonalism. The impersonalist reject something which can be utilized for Krishna's service. And this is the type of renunciation that would hinder the development of bhakti. And Srila Rupa Goswami describes this in detail. So first he describes that how process of Gyan and Vairagya are hindrance to devotional service. Then it describes how qualities of Vairagya is actually required. Then the process of getting the quality of practicing renunciation without hardening the heart is the practice of Yukta Vairagya. Yukta Vairagya means to accept anything which can be utilized for Krishna's service, not for own personal sense gratification. That is Yukta Vairagya. And there is actually a qualification to practice even Yukta Vairagya. It is not that anyone can say, oh, I can accept anything in the service of Krishna. No, there is naturally a qualification required to even practice Yukta Vairagya. Just like, for example, uh, during the time of Srila Prabhupada, there were many persons who might do illegal activities, and they would give money as a donation to Srila Prabhupada based upon un on I mean based upon earning money from not very honest means. Some were involved in drugs, some were involved in similar crimes, not intentionally, not like, but they had that kind of money and they gave to Prabhupada. So Prabhupada utilized that money in building, constructing of temple. But even afterwards,
3 बार मैंने एरो किया है।
but afterwards, when other persons tried to engage similar money, which are not earned by honest means, they had huge disastrous effect in their own spiritual lives. Many fell away from the path. Many had very different kinds of endings. So it actually who can utilize to what extent that also requires a lot of qualification. It is not that we can anyone can accept anything in terms of accepting things in name of utilizing for Krishna. It actually requires a lot of sense control. We need to be free from the desire of sense gratification. Because saying is one thing, but when the facility actually comes, then how would you respond? And that is why Srila Rupa Goswami further will explain about the process of wealth and followers. Explains that the doubt of these people. This is yes. Then or the accumulation of wealth or large number of followers. If the spiritual master is not properly authorized or properly qualified, he may be carried away by the accumulation of wealth and large number of disciples. Right. And then Srila Rupa Goswami talks about even the other principles like Yam, Ahimsa, Brahmacharya, Satyam. So these are good qualities, but when they are used as a process, then uh, they may not be in the circle or boundaries of devotional service. And that is why they are not mentioned as items of devotional service. But when one practices devotional service, all the good qualities manifest within the
टॉप बार डाल
person.
देना।
Right? So, and before conclusion, Srila Rupa Goswami mentions about Ekang and Anekang, that devotional service can be practiced by concentrating primarily on even the one of the items, or by concentrating equally on all items. Even if you focus, even if you pick up one thing, focus is on that, it is so powerful that it can lead to a desired perfection. At the same time, if you take up all of them, which creates a lot of variety and spice up in the spiritual life, and still you'll get all perfection. And he quotes different examples of ninefold of devotional service. Parikshit Maharaj, Shukdev Goswami for Kirtan, remembrance, all the examples are quoted here. And in Ramayana also, the different examples are quoted for these processes. It's like for Padasevanam as Bharat Maharaj, and for Shravanam Kirtanam, different acharyas are there. Yeah, so engaging one's senses. So sometimes Srila Rupa Goswami says here that instead of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, some acharyas uses the phrase Maryada Marg. And that's why Srila Prabhupada translates this as regulative, described by authorities as the path of serving the Lord in opulence. So either it is Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, sometimes the terminology that is used is Maryada Marg also. Right? So thank you. We'll stop here. If there are any one or two questions we can take.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Anji.
Yeah, Prabhuji, I have a question. That is it that if one is good on chanting and hearing and reading and may not be doing the deity worship, is it okay like that?
Sorry, come up again.
Like if one is good on hearing and reading and
The
chanting.
microphone is rubbing at somewhere. There a lot of other sound is I'm not able to understand. Go slowly.
Okay. Now can you hear me?
Yeah. No.
Yeah. Prabhuji, I said that if one is good on chanting and reading and is not and hearing and is not doing deity worship, is it still okay?
Your question is
I
if
mean,
one is engaged in hearing and chanting and is not engaged in
and
deity worship,
yeah,
is it
hearing,
okay?
chanting, yeah.
Yeah. Yes, is it okay? Perfectly okay. Hearing and chanting can itself award all perfection.
Okay,
Yet,
so that is yeah.
yet, Srila Jeev Goswami, Srila Prabhupada, and all the previous acharyas, specifically Sri Narad Muni and Narad Pancharatra, prescribes the
Mm.
process of devotional service along with Shravanam and Kirtanam. Why? For a very specific purpose. If one is engaged in deity worship,
Yeah.
the pace of purification is very fast. The senses have some active engagement to get involved in, to actually practically serve. Hearing and chanting, technically, philosophically, they are sufficient in itself to give perfection, even one item. But
Okay.
it has been seen that for most of the person, there is so much of mode of passion that one is unable to sit at one place and chant for long time. Let us say if one is struggling even to chant 16 rounds, what to talk about 64 rounds and 128 rounds and 192 rounds in one day. If the person is struggling even to chant, basic 8 rounds, those 16 rounds are also not very attentive. That means there is so much of mode of passion. And when one is engaged in deity worship, that uh, uh, he very quickly comes into the mode of goodness and transcends even further. So that is why our Acharya, specifically Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur and then Srila Prabhupada, they gave both aspects, Pancharatri ki Vidhi also and Bhagavad Vidhi. Shravanam and Kirtanam are from Bhagavad Vidhi, and deity worship is a part of Pancharatri Vidhi. So they go both hand in hand.
Okay.
If you are doing Shravanam and Kirtanam, nicely, naturally you would want to serve Krishna.
Right.
And by worshipping deities, you will have a more personal relationship with Krishna. And when you are naturally serving deities, you would naturally want to hear about the person whom you are serving. So the both
Right.
goes hand in hand.
Okay, Prabhuji, I got it.
So yes, it can give
Hare Krishna.
perfection, but also point is we have to see the standard of the practitioner as well. Yeah, please. Go ahead.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी दत्त नाम प्रभु जी एक चीज पूछना था कि कलयुग में सिर्फ चैंटिंग ही है सो जो हमने ये सब पढ़ा है
ये किसने
उसका
कहा है
कोई
आपको
भी
कलयुग में चैंटिंग ही है?
कलयुग इज अ युग धर्म चैंटिंग इज अ युग धर्म फॉर कलयुग है ना
हाँ, so 64 आइटम्स यहाँ श्रील रूप गोस्वामी क्यों देते?
हाँ मैं वही
Chanting is the
मेरा
king
थोड़ा
of
सा
all,
ओके
but all those 63 other items also have their own place.
यस
Sometimes it is used as it has taken out of context. Yes, chanting in itself is sufficient, but what about if chanting itself is sufficient, then why to get married also? Then why to get involved in other kinds of work? Then place it at one place and just chant. But that time we don't say the chanting Hare Nam Eva Kevalam. Because there a person is not on that level. Yes, it is sufficient. And Srila Haridas Thakur proved. Srila Gaur Kishore Das Baji proved. Srila Jagannath Das Baji proved by that example. So if we take to that process, yes, chanting in itself is sufficient. So you have to give up everything and just take to the chanting. But if you're doing other kinds of work and if you're not on that level, then there is an entire process that is given. There's chanting also, and there's this Bhagavatam also. If chanting would have been sufficient in itself, why Prabhupada wrote so many books? He would have just written one line, chanting on just to chanting. And that would be end of it. Why he wrote 100 books? For what purpose? Because there is a quality to that chanting. Ajamil's one name was sufficient to deliver him of all the sins that he could not commit. But there is a quality to that stage. How does that quality comes? It comes from following all these processes. Okay, so we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada's ki jai. Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada's ki jai. Bhakti Rasamrita. There are other questions you can take tomorrow.